New and startling statistics about the number of people injured or killed because of defective vehicles made by General Motors. Today, Kenneth Feinberg, the lawyer hired by GM to award payments to crash victims, released his first report showing that claims and fatalities are much higher than the automaker had determined. Phil LeBeau has more.
After looking at hundreds of claims and meeting with families of those injured or killed in faulty GM vehicles, Attorney Ken Feinberg is close to awarding millions of dollars to many of the victims. So far, the fund has received 445 claim applications, including 125 on behalf of those killed in GM models. Of that, 31 have been deemed eligible for payments, including 19 involving fatalities.
Clearly, the number will go up. It's speculation as to how high it will go. But clearly, based on the number of claims that have already been found eligible and the number that are in the queue that we're looking at, the number will continue to rise.
For months, GM claimed only 13 deaths were linked to accidents involving 2.6 million cars with defective ignition switches, even as lawyers and safety advocates have warned that there were far more people killed.
GM simply was flat wrong when they tried to frame the conversation by saying there were 13 deaths. It's just factually impossible given the amount of years, actually a decade, that they covered up the fraud and the amount of accidents that we know occurred as a result of the ignition switch.
General Motors CEO Mary Barra is hoping the compensation fund will help her company clear a good chunk of the cases involving defective switches. Beyond that, she's leaving the process up to Feinberg and his team.
Since we've announced the protocol, I have not talked to Ken. He's running a completely independent process, and that's the way we want it.
Ken Feinberg expects the first claim payments to go out in the next 30 to 45 days, with many of those payments being for several $1 million. When the GM Compensation Fund stops taking applications at the end of this year, General Motors could wind up paying more than $500 million to those injured or killed in defective GM cars. Phil LeBeau, Nightly Business Report, Washington.